What's up, everyone? Along with Will Brewer, I am Colby Daniels. It is UFC 327 Fight Week. Will, my man, what is happening?
Man, it's a lot going on these days. Work's been crazy. Just a whole lot of changes in life in general, but I'm blessed. I'm grateful. And UFC 327 is around the corner. Ready to get into it.
Very nice. I like this card a lot. We talked about it a little bit last week. I think that looking at the fight cards over 2026, this one for me at least is probably toward the upper echelon of the UFC's fight cards that they've made to this point of the year. Unfortunately, we did have a couple fights fall off, which was disappointing because I think they were two fights that I really wanted to see specifically. But overall, what's like 1 to 10? What's your excitement level at this point in the week for this fight card specifically?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, man. I'd say I'm probably at a 8.5, 9. Especially coming off of the Seattle card, and we had a pretty solid card last weekend as well. So with the names that's on this card, with what I expect this card to be, I think that we're in for a treat. So I'm pretty excited.
Is there an argument to be made that if you take the main event off the main card, that you could find four fights on the undercard that would rival the four fights on the main card, not including the main event?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think fight for fight, we're looking at a pretty even stacked lineups on both ends, prelims and main card for sure.
I don't know if that speaks more to the prelims or takes away from what the main card is, but obviously, I mean, Yuri Prohaska, Carlos Olberg is a sensational main event, and I think in terms of fun, interesting, stylistic fights you could make in the UFC for a championship. I mean, go through every weight class and find the most fun stylistic matchup. And this one is going to be on the short list of fights you would want to headline a card like this, right?
Oh yeah, because I think outside of Justin Gaethje, I think Yuri Prohaska is probably the most exciting fighter in the UFC. I started thinking about this earlier. I really don't think that Yuri Prohaska went to a decision in his whole UFC run. You know that his fights are going to be chaos. He's going to go out there. He's going to bring it. We're going to see what type of dog Alberg has. I mean, I think he's extremely skilled, but I don't think we've seen anybody bring out that dog that I wonder if he has. And I think in order for him to become the champion on Saturday, he's going to have to bring that out because Yuri Prohaska is no easy feat for anybody.
It'll bring the fighter out in him, right? I mean, that's kind of like
Absolutely.
sometimes I think you look at guys that are incredibly skilled and are capable of finishing their opponent, but what are they going to do when it kind of gets muddy, right? When they have to dig deep and get into a fight as opposed to just like, having their way with somebody. And Yuri Prohaska promises to bring that element out in all of his opponents.
Yeah, I mean, with Alberg, he's been pretty clean. Since he arrived, he had that one slip up I think it was his debut against Kennedy and Zechiku. That was a pretty good fight, but
That was a
he
wild
was
fight.
he was winning the fight, and then just think he got tired, and then Kennedy was able to land something and take him out. But outside of that, he's been pretty clean. He's got knockouts. He's went the distance. He's gained a lot of octagon time. So I'm very curious to see how he approaches someone like Prohaska, who's going to come out and really be in his face. I think Prohaska's learned from his fights with Alex Pereira. He's learned that he can't just be all go all the time, and I think that's helped him in fights with Roundtree and with Rakic, where he's kind of started a little slower and then picked it up towards the end. And I think Alberg is the type of guy that you have to. He's real slick, so Prohaska can't be wild like he normally is because we saw Pereira counter him, and I think Alberg has a similar skill set to that. But as this fight goes longer into the third, fourth, fifth rounds, and Yuri is still in his face, I wonder how Alberg is going to approach that.
See, I kind of look at this fight and I wonder if the opposite approach isn't the best for Yuri Prohaska. I mean, you look at who Carlos Olberg has fought, and nobody presents that he has presented the type of challenge that Yuri Prohaska presents in terms of pressure and not knowing where the next strike is going to come from and just the chaotic nature that his fights become. I almost wonder if you force that on Carlos Olberg. I mean, look, maybe he gets an early finish, but you don't know that he's going to thrive in that type of environment because we've not really seen him in that. And I wonder if that in some way maybe overwhelms him to a degree.
It could. It definitely could because he's going into a title fight for the first time. 5 rounds. I believe he's had main events before, but this is different. This is a pay-per-view numbered card, or not a pay-per-view. This is a numbered card, and all eyes are on him. Yuri's a fan favorite, obviously. Not too many people really know Alberg. I'm speaking of the casuals, but like he's extremely talented. But how is all of that pressure, all knowing that all eyes are on you? I think he's the favorite going into this. Uh, how does all of that stack up when you're standing across the octagon from someone who is as seasoned as Yuri Prohaska, who's been there before, who's fought the best of the best, and then just the fighting style itself? How is he going to react? That's a very, very good question because Alberg is still young. He's still young in this game, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think if Yuri takes his time, it's a recipe for disaster because I think that lets Olberg get comfortable, right, and find his footing when maybe there should be big nerves. This is by far the biggest fight he's ever been in. It kind of like I kind of go back to the Justin Gaethje Patty Pimblett fight and the way that Justin Gaethje just blitzed Patty out of the gate, right, and made him uncomfortable. And Patty wasn't used to having done that, especially on a big stage like that. I wonder if some of that math makes sense in this fight. Now, clearly, Carlos Olberg is 10 times the striker that Patty Pimblett was and
Oh
can
yeah.
make Yuri Prohaska pay for being overly aggressive. But I also think like you're setting yourself up for disaster if you're just gonna like buy your time and let him find his comfort level, let him find his distance. I mean, that kind of to me leans into what he's good at anyway, leans into his strengths.
Now, I think there's a balance to it because I think Yuri should be in his face, but I just don't think he should be as chaotic as he once was. And a perfect example, I think he was in Roundtree's face in the first couple of rounds. Now Roundtree was able to land, and he was kind of having his way, kind of picking them apart. But Yuri ate a lot of those shots, and by the time the third round came, Roundtree was, he had nothing left. He's throwing power shots at Yuri, and Yuri was able to eat him. I think a similar approach. I don't think he should be willing to take as many shots from Alberg as he did from Roundtree, but I think making him uncomfortable, being in his face is good, but I just don't think that he should be swinging wild like he did in the first Pereira fight because that's just going to set up Alberg to counter him. So I think Yuri he's been those fights with Alex really helped him. I think he knows the difference between being in someone's face, pressuring them, making them retreat for however long it is, because that's very taxing as well. I think he knows the difference between doing that and just setting himself up for getting countered. So I don't know, man. I think I kind of expect Alberg to be like, okay, however Yuri approaches this fight is going to dictate how I approach this fight. But either way, man, I expect this to be fireworks.
What is your perspective on this fight from the Carlos Olberg perspective?
He's so skilled, man. I think technique for technique, he's very much ahead of Yuri Prohaska. And if this fight is clean and he's able to find his distance, he'll be able to kind of pick apart Yuri's legs. I think that's something that needs to be a part of his game plan from jump is leg kicks. Yuri's going to be moving, switching stances. I think if he can kind of limit that as best as he can with the leg kicks and just his wide arsenal of strikes, body kicks, the boxing as well. I think the cleaner this fight is, obviously, it favors Alberg, but it just depends on what Prohaska we see. Prohaska's going to have to get in his face because, like you said, if this fight's that distance, then Alberg's going to pick him apart. Prohaska's going to have to get in there. He's going to have to take some risk.
This is an interesting division, for the winner especially. Like, where does this division turn to, regardless of which way this fight goes?
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. You hear a lot of rumors that Hamzat's going to move up, and I think from a fan perspective, that would be pretty interesting to see. That would immediately bring some life into this division. But you look up and down this card, there's 3 fights on the main card, 3 light heavyweight fights that are pretty interesting. I think Mirzakhanov is good. Paulo Costa is bringing, he's bringing notoriety to this division. A lot of people know who he is, and he's a skilled fighter. We don't see him fight as much, but whenever he's in there, it seems to be fun. And then Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker, I think that fight's going to be crazy. I think that fight's probably going to end in the first round and a half. So there's a lot of fun fights on this card, but from here, you got Ankalaev out there still, who's he lost to Pereira. Pereira was the champion. He beat Pereira, the only guy to do so at light heavyweight. So I think he still factors in pretty heavily into this division. Then you got Paulo Costa and Mirzakhanov winner potentially get to the right back in there for a title shot. Blachowicz, you still got and then of course you got Reyes and Johnny Walker. So there's a lot of room for someone to make some noise on this card and potentially be right there in contention for a title shot.
Is there a scenario where Alex Pereira loses to Cyril Gane and comes back down to this division, or do you think like this is now in the rearview mirror and we never see Poatan at 205?
That's very interesting, man. I think it depends on how the loss happens if he was to lose to Cyril. I think if he just looks completely overwhelmed, size is just too much, then maybe he goes back down. But I think if it looks like Pereira could have won and it was close and maybe there was like a slip up, he got caught. As long as Pereira looks like he can compete, I think that he'll stay. But if he just gets completely wiped out, then I think he'll come back down.
Because if Olberg takes out Prohaska, to me, an Olberg Pereira match would be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah. It would be similar, not the same, because Olberg brings a different type of power, but it would be similar to Adesanya and Pereira, just two skilled strikers, and it'd be a chess match to see who can outpoint the other one. But there's consequences with both of those guys if you are to slip up. So I would love to see that fight.
Which guy winning benefits the promotion more?
Of Prohaska and Olberg?
Yeah.
I think Yuri. I think we didn't get to see a Yuri Prohaska title reign per se, because he became champion and then he had that bad shoulder injury, and that kind of took over his whole title reign. So I think if we were able
he gave up his belt, right? And that's when
did he give up his belt?
Yeah, that's when Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira fought.
That's right.
So he never had a title. Yeah, I mean, he won the belt and then immediately gave it up.
That's right. He gave it up. So we didn't even get to see him defend the title. And
then by the time he came back, Alex Pereira had like taken over the division.
Right. So he had so much momentum coming off that Glover fight, because that fight was bananas. We were expecting a pretty lengthy title reign. I think I favored Yuri over most everyone in the division at the time. But I think that it would benefit the division a lot more if Yuri was champion, because there's still a lot of fresh matchups out there for him. There's still Ankalaev. There's still Jan Blachowicz, who he hasn't fought. Khamzat Chimaev coming up would be great. Mirzakhanov and Paulo Costa. So, I mean, a Dominic Reyes. Remember how crazy that fight was. So there's still a lot of fun matchups out there for Yuri. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be fun if Olberg became champion, because he has a very fan-friendly style, I guess I could say. He point fights and he fights smart, but he does have power, and he makes it exciting if someone tries to go after him. So, but I think with Yuri, we just know it's going to be chaos, and that's what the UFC fans want.
All right, let's talk about the co-main event. Paulo Costa enters this fight at 205 versus Mirzakhanov. I think this is a good matchup. Costa, because like you said, he has the name notoriety. He's going to bring a spotlight with him no matter where he fights. Is he a real player in your mind at 205?
It depends on the performance. I think he's skilled enough. I think he brings, like I said, his name value brings a lot to this division. So a win here over an undefeated guy who's on the rise, a win here, I think puts him right up there in title contention for sure.
So do you think they made this fight with Costa being like the sacrificial lamb to put Mirzakhanov over?
That's a great question, man, because I think they probably made it to where both sides they get something out of it. Like if Mirzakhanov wins, like he beat Paulo Costa, he's on the rise. But if Paulo Costa wins, he beat a ranked undefeated guy, and he's right there for a title shot. So I think they benefit either way this fight goes.
We talked a couple weeks ago about the heavyweight division and that you can make the argument right now it is in maybe the worst place that it's ever been in UFC history.
Bro.
Curtis Blades versus Josh Hockett at heavyweight before the co-main event. This is one to me that just screams like we are trying to get somebody to add a little life to this division, which is otherwise like I don't think very desirable right now among the UFC fan base.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Josh is doing his thing. He's playing a character. Well, I don't know if he's playing a character or if that's really him, but he's really talking the game to where people want to see him fight. They want to see him get beat or to see if he's really as good as he says he is. He's already at media day. Causing all bunch of chaos, trying to get in Olberg's face, trying to get in Yuri's face, and Yuri doesn't bother anybody. So for him to go up and try to cause stuff with him, it's just he's trying too hard in my opinion. But the guy is very, very skilled. I mean, his last fight was I forget who it was against. I think it was against Denzel Freeman, I want to say, and he absolutely drained him. And it looked like Freeman wanted to quit. And I think the UFC saw that and was like, we might have something with him. And he did his thing on the mic. He talked a whole bunch of crap. And now he's at this spot where, okay, the UFC needs a heavyweight like him to, bring this division, give this division some life, because obviously it's on life support. So I love the matchup. I mean, normally when you go from unranked and you're fighting in the early prelims and now you're fighting pretty much the number of 3-4 ranked heavyweight in the world right now. So they obviously see something in him. He's very skilled, but it's put up or shut up. This is your opportunity. What are you going to do with it? You're fighting probably the toughest matchup out of anyone in the heavyweight division right now in Curtis Blades. So we'll see what he's made of.
Is this moving up too fast?
It might be, man. And I think it's only because of this particular matchup. I think Blades, with his wrestling, with his size, he's no slouch on the feet. This is a tough matchup for him. Now, if he was to get in there with Volkov, someone who's not really got that wrestling base, then I think it wouldn't be so much for him. But with Curtis Blades, this is a very tough matchup to see what you're made of.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker. This one, like, I would be stunned if we get a decision in this fight, right? I mean, this one screams finish somewhere, some way. Last time we saw Dominic Reyes, he had the big opportunity against Carlos Ulberg. I felt like he was very hesitant in that fight and never really got going. And Carlos Ulberg obviously did what he did. This to me is a very interesting stylistic matchup. And in some ways, it kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other.
Yeah.
At this point of their career, like they're both kind of in a similar situation.
Yeah. And they're both tall. I mean, I think Reyes is 6'4", 6'5", and Walker's 6'6". Yeah. So I think, like you said, this fight shouldn't go over 2 rounds, in my opinion. I think Reyes is going to want to make a statement coming off of that loss against Ulberg. He was riding such a high. I mean, he had 3 consecutive finishes, and for him to be hesitant against Ulberg, I think he was expecting like, okay, this fight's going to go long, and then he tried to make a move, and Ulberg was able to get him. But that just goes to show how skilled Ulberg is when you do try to commit. But I think Reyes is still a player in this division. These are the type of matchups where he shines in. But Johnny Walker looked good in his last one. I think the UFC was really high on Zhang Ming Yang, I think that's his name. They were really high on him because he had just beat Anthony Smith, and I believe that fight was in China that he had with Walker, and Walker completely spoiled it. So I think this is a good crossroads fight, and I think it's going to be fireworks. I think both guys, they're linked. There's going to be problems for each other. I mean, we'll see who can implement their game plan better.
All right, and we got to hit Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr to start the main card at featherweight.
Now, this is another fireworks fight, and this is going to be Cub Swanson's last fight. So I think it's going to go out there, and he's going to make this fight fun. Cub's whole career, he's always had banger fights. One of the respected veterans. He's the last guy from the WEC. Just a vet's vet, a fighter's fighter. He's going to go out there. I believe he's going to put on a show for the fans, and for him to be fighting Nate Landwehr is going to give him exactly what he wants, and that's a scrap to call it a day. So I'm very excited for this one. For this one to be the main card opener, I think it's going to really be a good setup for the rest of the night.
All right, so as far as the main card goes, give me the order of which you think these fights will be most entertaining to least entertaining.
Including the main event?
Including the main event.
Ooh.
What fight, like if you had to put money on this and at the end of the night, there's going to be a big payout if you get this right, what fight's going to be the most entertaining fight to the least entertaining fight on the main card?
Man. Okay. Most entertaining. I think will be okay. Most entertaining, I'm gonna go Yuri and Olberg. I think Yuri's gonna make that chaotic. So I think that's gonna be number one for me. Number two, I'm gonna go with Cub and Landwehr. 3, I'll go Reyes and Walker. 4, I'll go Mirzakhanov and Costa. And 5, I'll go Blades and Hoki.
I agree across the board, which is funny. I wasn't sure where you were going to go, but that's my order as well. And part of it is because I think Yuri's not capable of being in a boring fight,
right,
period.
He's not.
And I kind of think the same thing of Nate Landwehr, where he would rather be knocked out in like a really fun fight than, like fight a fight that isn't going to be a crowd pleaser. And then after that, I think they all kind of fall into order in natural place. But yeah, I think in terms of just the entertainment value of this main card, this is a really fun matched up main card across the board. All right, so I'm really curious about Pitbull and Pico.
Oh yeah.
In the prelims at featherweight, these were two guys that both came over to the UFC with massive expectations, and probably fair to say that the majority of people feel like it's been a letdown to this point. I know that Pitbull obviously has rebounded since his UFC debut, but is this a fight for a UFC contract essentially? Like, is the loser gone?
Maybe so. And it's crazy to say because Pitbull is so accomplished. Like he's such I'd say a big name in this game. I know that coming to the UFC was big for him, and I expected him to be right in the thick of things in terms of the title picture. And there was a lot of hype on Pico. Now I wasn't as hyped on Pico. There were still a lot of questions that I had on Aaron Pico, but the potential is there.
Well, it sort of grew too after Movsar pulled out, right? And then he was replaced with Lerone Murphy, and there's kind of this perspective of like, oh, somebody's just going to come in and fight Aaron Pico. That's not like, I think in some ways that kind of like elevated the aura a little bit.
Yeah. Because Movsar was pulling out of a lot of fights, and then if it were me, I thought that was a layup for Movsar. I mean, the styles kind of matched up well, and there was a lot of people that were high on Pico, but I thought if Movsar really just fought his fight that he would win. But Pico comes with a lot of hype, a lot of potential, and Pitbull comes with the experience. I think if Pico has another showing like he did in that Murphy fight, if he gets finished again, that'll probably be it for him. But at the same time, he's still young. I think there's still a lot of career left for him. Maybe you just put him, just a little further down in the featherweight pool, but I think there's potential there. For Pitbull, there's not as much there. I think it's now or never. I think he's almost 40. He's probably 39 now. So it's now or never for him. I think he needs to make this run now if he really wants to have a chance at a title shot. Volk is obviously the guy, and he's going to be fighting Mosar soon. But I think there's room for Pitbull at the top if he's able to put a little run together.
And that's a division that I felt like maybe a year ago we looked at and thought like there are a lot of different pathways for guys to fight their way into contention. And a lot of that has kind of ironed itself out, right? Like now I don't feel like we have nearly as many options when you look at the top end of that division. Like it's going to be Movsar getting the next title shot. You would imagine Gene Silva is next. Yeah. And then it feels pretty wide open after that because everybody else that maybe we would have thought was an option has either lost since then or is looking at changing divisions or, just a number of things.
Yeah, Aljo's there, Yusuf Salal, they're about to fight. I think the winner of that fight is gonna be right there in title contention. But like you said, it's pretty wide open. John Silva, for as fun as he is, he only's got one. He's on a 1-fight win streak. He hasn't really put it together like you would want a contender to, like Mosar has, like Lerone had before he lost. And I think Murphy still factors in, even though he just lost. I mean, I still think he's still right there. So
but he's gonna have to beat somebody, obviously. Yeah, for
sure. Yeah, definitely. He's got to be someone. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a Lerone Murphy and John Silva fight. But like I said, this division is still pretty wide open outside of the main, Volk and Mosar, those guys. But I think for a guy like Pitbull, he still has name value. If he puts a run together, I know the UFC would probably welcome him into title contention for sure.
Kevin Holland at welterweight versus Randy Brown, another fun matchup that stylistically is a perfect match. And I love Kevin Holland at 170. I mean, there are times I think at 185 where you just worry about the size, but at 170, obviously he's a monster.
Yeah, man. I know that he just like he's probably on a big contract and he likes collecting a check, so he'll go and he'll fight at middleweight and he'll he'll go out there and he'll do his thing. But like you said, it's the size of he's 6'3" or 6'4" or whatever it is. But those guys are strong. They're big up there. So 170, I thought should have, as soon as he went down, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. And then he started taking fights at 185. And I'm like, I don't like it. So hopefully this is somewhere that he can stay, be consistent with it. He's become a guy where he's like, I'll win 2, I'll lose 2, I'll win 2, I'll lose 2, I'll win 2, I'll lose 2. And I'm just like, okay, Kevin, let's put a run together, man. So, but this is a very fun fight. Randy Brown, I think he's really coming to his own. He's had some, he's always goes on a streak. And then that fight that really is going to catapult him into the real top of the division, he always loses. But I think this is a fight where, both guys can just go out there and make it fun. Holland obviously has the power advantage, but Randy Brown has shown that he's very, very skilled. I don't know with Kevin Holland, man. I don't know what Kevin Holland we're going to see, because you got the Kevin Holland who fights Michael Chiesa and just has this amazing performance, and then you got the Kevin Holland who fought D-Rod, and it's just like, okay, where's your mind at? So I think a lot of this fight is going to depend on what Kevin Holland we see. Are you motivated? I know Randy Brown's going to be motivated because he wants to win. He's still looking at a title. What's Kevin Holland's motivation? That's my question.
Has it really been since October 2025 that Kevin Holland fought? What is happening here?
Oh yeah, was that D-Rod that he
Mike Malott.
Mike Malott, that's right. Did he won that fight, didn't he? No, he lost.
Lost.
Goodness. Oh, yeah. Yes, he did lose that fight. It was the low
Unanimous
blow, and then
decision.
it was the low blow, and then he basically was out for the rest of that fight. But I thought that was a fight that he should win. Like a lot of these fights, like Mike Malott, D-Rod, a lot of these welterweight fights, I kind of favored Kevin Holland. This is the one where I'm like, I don't know. Randy Brown with his length, with his he's got pretty solid fight IQ. But Kevin Holland, if he's motivated, Kevin Holland's one of the best fighters in the world. But it just depends on how motivated he is at this point.
This is a card full of guys that I think like Kevin Holland, like Dominic Reyes, like Paulo Costa, guys that have name recognition, that are fun fighters, that are going to be a
Mm-hmm.
draw, that also give them like another opportunity to really like reclaim some sort of path forward. Um, it may not be this like big fight card where there are a lot of like we may not have a podcast next week where we're talking about like now the light heavyweight division makes sense, right? Like all the fights have now like given us clarity on what that division looks like, and we know exactly what's going to happen at heavyweight now, and we know what's going to happen at middleweight because all these fights have sort of like made the dust settle. This isn't that type of fight card where it's a bunch of like contenders fighting, but it is stylistically a fun fight card from top to bottom with a lot of name recognition and the type of name recognition in the type of matchups that potentially gives a path back to some of these guys that maybe don't currently have one.
Yeah, I fully agree. Because like if Dominic Reyes is able to string a win together in a exciting fight, I think he's right back in the title contention. Kevin Holland, just like the fights that I expect these fights to be, and with how the fans are so hungry for exciting fights, for fun fights, for a superstar, I guess. If someone goes out there and makes some noise, especially someone with name value, the UFC is going to see that and they're going to be like, okay, we need to build off of this momentum. We need to put them in another big fight. We need to put them in line for the title. So I fully agree with you here.
Give me two fights on the prelims that if I wasn't aware of any of these people and I was just going to tune into the prelims and you were to give me two fights that I would enjoy the most, what are those two fights?
Kevin Holland, Randy Brown for sure. And the other one, I mean, I'm not going to say this one, but I think that Kelvin Gastelum, Vicente Luque, I think those two being on the early prelims, it's not crazy because of where they are in their careers, but I think they'll see that as disrespect and they'll just go out there and just have a freaking barn burner of a fight.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a real good setup for the night because I think those two are those two guys that are veterans and they need a win really bad. So I think they're going to go out there and have a fun fight. But definitely Kevin Holland, Randy Brown. I think that's going to be a fun one. And then, I mean, I guess I would say tune into Pico and Pitbull.
Yeah. I heard I was scrolling Instagram. I don't remember if that was today or yesterday, but I came across a clip of Dan Hooker talking about wanting to fight Moicano, and he basically says like the UFC would never make that fight because we're both bones and carcasses. Essentially saying like we're both veterans, right? That don't have like a lot of
Yeah.
heat, and they're not going to put two guys in that position against each other. They're going to use one of those guys to be, potentially a stepping stone for an up and coming fighter.
Right.
As he's talking about that, though, I like kind of smiled because I was like, that's kind of what this fight card is it not? Especially when you look at like Gastelum and Luque, you look at, I mean, there's just a bunch of fights on this card to me that are like, because I think what he says is true. Like, I think that is the rule, not the exception. This fight card, though, feels like it's more of the exception than the rule, where you're getting a lot of those types of matchups when I think usually you would have like Blades and Hockett, right? Like I think that's probably the exception on this fight card as opposed to what the rest of the fights are. Typically it does go that way, but this fight card is full of the opposite, I feel like.
Yeah, but is this something that we're going to see more of? Are we going to see more of veterans fighting veterans, like a Gastelum fighting a Luque? I think with such a star problem I think he's right. I think the UFC is going to want to build these younger guys off of a Dan Hooker, off of Moicano.
Yeah.
That's why we saw Moicano fight Chris Duncan. I mean, Moicano's got a name. He's got a following. Let's see if Chris Duncan can kind of take that momentum from him. So if it's
That's why I say
Dan,
this card is the exception, not the rule. But it's funny, like as he was saying that, like the fight card this weekend is kind of the exception to what he's talking about. But I think what he was saying is right on.
what he's saying is right. But I think they should do more of this though, because like just how we're talking about how fun these fights are, why not do this more often? Maybe not every single card, because you obviously have to build more stars, but there's still veterans in this game who we want to see fight other veterans. It makes it fun. We don't always want to see these legends get killed off. Like we don't always want to see a Joe Pyfer, Israel Adesanya, even though that fight was, it's a meeting of the roads, I guess. But why not give us a Dan Hooker and Moicano? I think that's a very fun fight. I think the fans would enjoy it. So yeah, why not?
Do you think the UFC right now has a bigger star problem or a bigger, like, interesting content fight problem?
I think it's a little bit of both. But like when I was coming up, when I first started watching this sport, we had Brock Lesnar, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Jose Aldo. We had just a superstar, Cain Velasquez. There was just stars all over the place. I think now the guys, potentially, these are better, well-rounded fighters, but I think they're missing the star quality. I think outside of Ilia Topuria, Alex Pereira, outside of those guys, I think we're missing Hamza, obviously. But outside of those guys, I think we're just missing guys who just have that appeal.
Yeah. I think the star problem is much bigger. I mean, people remember a fight card for what the main event is, right? Like good or bad. That's really the reality for most average fans. They remember the fight card for what the main event fight was. And if it's a great fight, great card. If it's a bad fight, bad card. And I think you get people that feel better about fights when you have big stars involved. Because, dude, we watch fights every single week where there are guys that, like we're not super familiar with, but put out great performances. And, the average fan that is sounding off about the UFC probably isn't watching the third fight on the prelims. And, so they only watch the main event, and then they see Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway for the BMF, and then they call the fight card boring when there were other good fights on the card. But, the main event always is reflective of the way people feel about a fight card.
Yeah, for sure. And to me, the Conor McGregor era was fun. It was great. It was something that's never going to be matched again. But I think he messed it up for everybody because he was such a star. He got so much that fans aren't going to take to potential stars the way they did to Conor, because it was something we had never seen before. And if someone isn't going out there being like Conor or remotely close to Conor, then, I think people are losing their interest there. So Conor McGregor's not walking through that door. And then I think the UFC...
I would say it's a two-way street, though. Like, two things have to be present to be Conor McGregor, right? You have to be the entertainment outside of the octagon. You have to do everything Conor did on the microphone, which was exceptional. But you also have to deliver the excitement inside the octagon. And I think there have been guys that are able to do the inside part, but suck on the microphone. There are a lot of guys that are really good on the microphone and may not even be bad inside the octagon, but they're not exciting enough, right? Like there's a perfect storm there where you have to both be exciting on the microphone and inside the octagon and win. And like there are some guys that are great on the microphone, get inside and wrestle for 15 minutes. And that's not going to be the same. Like it's just naturally not going to draw the same level of fandom that Conor did. So it's kind of a perfect storm of a couple things. I think there are a lot of people that have had elements of Conor McGregor, but you have to have both pieces together to make Conor McGregor.
Yeah, that is for sure. And some people just are able to just find their thing, and like Alex Pereira, for instance, he's great inside the octagon, and on the mic he just says one thing. He says "chama," and then the fans love it. But he has the whole aura, the whole walkout, the bow and arrow, the haircut, the stoic look. I mean, I just think he just has it. And most people are going to try to follow the Conor McGregor
Right.
thing. And like Izzy, for instance, Izzy just came and he just had a different type of style. And I think outside of Conor, he was the one who kind of separated himself and made himself a star just on his own, just being himself. He wasn't trying to be someone that he's not. He wasn't trying to do something extra to please the fans. He was just being who Israel Adesanya is. He's dancing. When you talk to him, he burps all the time. Like he's just being Israel Adesanya. So
yeah,
he became a star. Alex became a star. Ilya Topuria became a star. Like I think Hamzat became a star. And they're not even following the Conor McGregor blueprint. I think Ilya might be to a certain extent, but those guys aren't. And I just think they found their own way.
There's Conor was a transcendent star, though, right? Like there's stars, and those guys, without question, are stars. I would say Izzy is probably the closest to what Conor was in terms of transcending your star level from just MMA fandom to like sports fandom, right? Like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like if you're going to tune into Sports Center and they're going to talk about you, that's transcending to like sports fandom outside of just MMA fandom. We saw that with Izzy. Like, I don't think Alex Pereira's done that a ton. I think he's a massive superstar inside the MMA fan base, but like in terms of just being like a sports fan, is he that guy that has transcended the MMA fan base to reach just like sports fan base in general? Like Izzy was during his title run. Conor is, but those are the types of guys I'm talking about in terms of like star power, the types of people that like my buddy who never watches the UFC, if this person is fighting, he's gonna be like, hey dude, tell me about like what's happening Saturday. You know, like I have a bunch of friends that are diehard sports fans that don't watch the UFC, but if something happens with Conor McGregor, they're asking me about Conor McGregor, right? And I think there was some of that with Israel Adesanya. I think there was some of that with Francis Ngannou. But the UFC doesn't have a ton of those guys right now that I think like when their name gets mentioned outside of MMA circles, the average like sports fan is like, hey, what's happening here? Like my interest is piqued. I've got to pay attention to this. Let me tune in.
See, now this is the exact reason why the Netflix MVP card is getting such, is this better than the White House card?
Exactly.
The only reason is because Francis and Nate and Ronda are well, I'm not going to say transcendent, but they're very close to, especially Ronda, very close to transcendent stars. But on the UFC side, you have Ilya Topuria, you have Alex Pereira. Fight quality, the UFC White House card wipes the floor with
not even close.
The Netflix card. Not even close. But in just terms of, hey, I need to tell you about this fight. I want you to watch this. Nate Diaz, Francis Ngannou. Oh, I've heard of him. Oh, I've heard of him. Francis, that's the guy that does this. Nate Diaz, that's the guy that flips people off. Ronda Rousey, that's the one who puts people in the armbar. Everybody knows who Ronda Rousey is. So that's the reason why everyone is just like, is the Netflix card better than the UFC card? The answer is no. But is there more stars over there? Perhaps. But fight quality, we're looking at the White House card, and it's not even close.
Yeah. I think Justin Gaethje has started to do that a little bit, but it's still, because he's not the flashy, flamboyant microphone guy, it's not gone maybe as far as it could. And, that I'm not saying he should do that. That's not his style. I'm just suggesting that I think to reach a certain level of transcendent stardom, I think those two things have to be present, and that's probably part of the issue. But regardless, I'm excited for this fight card. As we wrap this up, Will, give me your UFC 2 or I about did it. I about did 237. Give me your UFC 327 main event pick.
Man, my main event pick. I really want to go Allberg, but I'm gonna go Yuri because
if you want to go Allberg, go Allberg.
Look, I really want to because he's so skilled, and normally I go for the skill, but I just think there's there's moments in the fight that I would like to have seen Alberg in, that he's going to be placed in, that I just haven't seen him in. And I think Yuri's experience, just his pressure, I think is going to present some problems for Alberg. And I think this is going to be another case where Yuri starts slow. Alberg's going to start fast. He might drop him. But Yuri's just going to keep coming. He's still going to be there. And by the third, fourth round, I think Alberg is going to probably get a little winded, and we'll see a Prohaska late finish probably in the fourth round.
Yeah. At some point, Yuri's going to get hit with something big, and he's going to shake it off like he always does. And the broadcast team is going to talk about how Yuri looks exhausted, which he does in every single fight because that's just how he is.
Yeah.
And then he probably has some sort of crazy scramble, and we're all just like, "Oh my god!" The meme, right? Like yeah. To me, like this fight is just it's Prohaska for me. And I'm not saying Alberg can't win because I think he has a very realistic shot at winning. I think he could land a big shot and finish the fight. I just think like Yuri presents a challenge that he's never seen anything close to. Yuri has this big fight experience on this stage. And, as the fight goes on, what have we seen from Yuri? We've seen him in fights where he's losing. His last 2 wins, he's been losing, and he just finds a way, right? He digs down deep. He takes big shots. He still keeps coming at you. As this fight goes on, like the only time we've ever seen Alberg in that position was when he faded against Kennedy and Nzechukwu way back when, right? Otherwise, he's not been in this position, and he's certainly not been in this position against somebody, I think, to the level of Yuri Prohaska. So to me, there's just too many check marks next to Yuri's name to not pick him. But I do think this is going to be a fun fight. I think this is probably going to be a fun finish on either side, whichever way it goes. But I got to put my money on Yuri Prohaska.
Yeah, but look, I would not be surprised if Yuri overextends himself and Alberg is able to counter him. But the problem is, if that doesn't happen, I just don't know how Alberg wins this.
Right.
Because I don't see him wrestling. I think he's going to have to put Yuri down, or Yuri's going to continue to be in his face. And at some point, that's going to get exhausting. So, yeah, he's going to be put in spots he's never been put in before in this fight, and we'll see if he rises to the occasion. But I haven't seen it yet, and I've seen more out of Yuri in these situations. So, as much as high as I am on Alberg, and I think he potentially could win it in the future, I think this is Yuri Prohaska's time.
All right, give me a percentage, like confidence percentage Yuri wins.
I'd say I'm at like a 62, like a 61, 62.
Okay.
Like I still give Alberg a chance to win, but my confidence in Prohaska is up there. Just because if I'm thinking that your best chance to win is a counter punch, and I'm not sure about what you're going to bring to the table outside of that, I just can't put my money there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm at like 70%, but like, I certainly don't think it's a runaway. I just think that
definitely not.
Too many things in Yuri's favor in this specific matchup for me to go the other way. But look, Carlos Alberg would be, if he gets a finish in this thing, I mean, he's the type of guy that potentially gives you, somebody to pay attention to in terms of that star power we talked about. So
for sure.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, my man, we will do it again next week. We'll obviously have a lot to break down from UFC 327, but for now, have a good rest of your evening, and I'll see you on Saturday.
All right, brother. Have a good one, man.